Hi, my name is Diane, but I go by Mookie, and I just wanted to know if I can tell you. I had to put my trust in God at a very, very young age, and I learned how to stand firm in His Word because it says in Psalms 46, 1 through 2, that God is our refuge and our strength and ever-present help in trouble. And therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. And I became Christian at 5 years old. And being that young, you kind of think like, oh, they don't really know what they're doing. But I knew what I was doing. I knew that I needed to be in this relationship with God because He was going to be my strength and He was going to be my refuge. And being so young and growing up the way I did, our home situation wasn't the best. My mom was a drug addict, and I just remember countless times where we had nothing to eat in our house, or she used her whole check to buy drugs, and we had to go to different food shelves around and find stuff for us to eat. And I remember going to school and being teased because my clothes weren't nice and they smelled, and we just didn't have what normal kids would have. But when I was 5 years old, we got plugged into a church, and my life started to change, but not physically, but just emotionally and spiritually. My life began to change because I knew God cared for me throughout all of that, all the stuff that I was going through back at home. And my mom, she went to church with us at first, but after a couple months, or after a couple years even, she decided she didn't want to go back, and she never went again. But me and my siblings, we continued to go to church, and we continued to grow, and we even worked with our kids ministry, and we did outreaches all over Minneapolis where I grew up. And when I was probably 4th grade, my mom got married to a guy named Don, and he was very, very abusive, and he used to hit her all the time. And we moved from place to place because he used to get so mad if she didn't give him money, or if she wasn't buying him the drugs that he wanted, that he would beat her and then break all the windows in our house. So we had to move continuously because the landlords that we lived with were tired of replacing the windows over and over again. And I just remember going to many schools. I went to 17 schools throughout my whole entire life. And it was just a hard living situation. And in 7th grade, my mom decided that she was going to move out of state and move with Don because he had left. And so she was going to move back with him. And my sister Dee Dee, who's older than me by 2 years, she decided that she wasn't going, and I wanted to stay with Dee Dee, so I was like, I'm not going either. And so my mom left when I was in the 7th grade and left us in Minneapolis by ourselves. And so over the next couple months, we just lived with friends and whoever would take us in at the time. And we ended up moving into a women's home that was our church's, but it was a women's home for recovering addicts. So it really wasn't a good place for younger girls to be, but we lived there because we had no other place to go. And after a few months of living there, it really wasn't a good situation, but after a couple months, Children's Family Services was called, and someone told them about our situation, so they came to visit us. And we talked to them, and they were like, well, you guys can't stay in this house anymore. We're going to have to find you foster home or a group home to live in. But the thing about it, at that time, they didn't have a place where me and my sister both could go and be together, so they were going to split us up, and we didn't want that to happen. So we talked it over with them, and they got it okay with the state for us to stay in the women's home. But because we're staying there, they added on a lot of rules and guidelines that the church had to follow and the pastor had to follow for us to stay there. Me being so young and so naive, really didn't care what was going on. I wanted to do my own thing, and because we didn't have technically a guardian staying with us all the time, checking up on us, I did whatever I want. I didn't go to school. I used to sneak out all the time, and it just wasn't good. And so when our social worker found out about those things, he was like, there's no way you guys can stay here anymore. I have to move you. So I moved. they were like, we're going to find a foster home or somebody that can take you guys in, and you guys can look too for families in your church that you think might help or want to help you guys out. So we were looking around, and I told my best friend about our situation, and she asked her parents about it, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll take you guys in. So they became our foster parents, and after we were there living with them for a couple of years, they decided to adopt me and my older sister, and like our lives changed drastically. Like our grades improved, and like because they were a Christian family, like our relationship with God began to grow and developed even more. And like I know that even then, like just knowing, trusting in God, even through all the hard times, and even when I was rebellious, that if I didn't trust in God and believe that He could change my situation, it probably would have never changed. And like I thank God every day for all the things that He did in our life and all the things that He is continuing to do even now. And so like I just really believe that He has a plan for everybody's life, and even yours. And if you want, I can pray with you right now.